only thing we have to fear is
in war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live. Thanks for joining us today. You found us on a Friday, which means it's Good News Friday. That's our day every week to bring you some good news from across the nation. I'm Rick Green here with David Barton and Tim Barton. Guys, always love Good News Friday, and I'm wondering who gets to go first today.
I'm going to take it first, Rick, and I'm going to start with some national perspective. And the good news is I'm going to tell you what the progressives and the left and the anti-constitutionalists and all those guys think when they look toward November. Got in my hands a report that was done by the leftists for the leftists saying here's what we need to do to win in November. And I was very interested in the demographics that they gave to their own people, and their own analysis is we're in real trouble. And so let me read you some of the stats that came from this very left report. And first off, now this is an indication. I don't care about Democrat, Republican per se. I care about conservative versus liberal, progressive versus God-fearing, etc. But the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives are scared to death because right now the voter demographic of those who will vote in this coming November. And by the way, there's a big difference between those who vote in this coming November and those who vote in a presidential election. Typically, by and large, liberals and progressives vote every 4 years, conservatives vote every 2 years. And so based on the Democrat study, and they're in a lot of states trying to take states back. I mean, our own state, Rick, Texas, they've got battleground Texas because they think if they can take Texas off the red column, there will never again be a conservative president, and they're probably right in that. As many our 38 electoral votes, that would just about wipe out any conservative presidents out there. So here's their analysis. The first thing they say is really bad news for them is in likely voters, not registered voters, but those that are likely to vote this coming November. Right now, Republicans are 52% and Democrats are 39%. So that's not good news for them. Then they start asking questions. What percentage of voters, and these are all people who are likely to vote, they have a record.
Hey, Dave, I got to ask you about that first one for 52-30. Isn't that number normally essentially tied?
Normally it is tied. As a matter of fact,
or even a Democrat leaning.
Yeah,
I've always thought we were, conservatives were behind on the Republican side by 2 or 3 points. So for that to be a 13-point advantage for Republicans expected to vote in November, that sounds like a massive turnaround.
Let's make it a 19-point advantage because normally in a presidential election, 44% are likely to vote Democratic and 38% Republican. So Republicans normally have a -6 in a presidential election. At this point, looking at a non-presidential election, they're a plus 13. That's a 19-point turnaround from where they are in presidential elections.
Yeah, that's huge. Sorry to interrupt you, but I thought about that number and thought, man, that's backwards from what I always thought it was. So that's good.
It is. It's backwards, and it's backwards by a long way. Again, nearly 19 points. So that's why their forecasts that they're having, they're not very optimistic at this point. Then they asked the likely voters, again, those that will vote in this election, the off-year election, are you favorable or unfavorable toward Obama? And again, in the nation, it's about 40-40 and some undecideds. In those likely voters, it is 55% that are unfavorable toward Obama. So that's not even close. I mean, anybody that went into an election with a negative viewing of 55% from the electorate is in serious trouble. They are history. So the likelihood of the president being able to maintain Congress or maintain the Senate or anything else, unlikely with those kind of numbers. Then you ask those, this is the one that was interesting to me because a lot of Republicans run from the Tea Party. Now, I will say they run from the Tea Party in affiliation. They don't run from the Tea Party in philosophy. And what we're seeing is, even the national folks that said, well, Tea Parties didn't do all that well in primaries. Yeah, they did because they made the mainstream guys have to act like Tea Party guys in order to win their primaries. So the Tea Party folks have really drug conservatives to the right, and even those that claim to be moderate, they now have to be genuine conservatives in order to even be competitive. So when it comes to are you favorable or unfavorable, if you're voting this election, are you favorable or unfavorable toward Tea Party? What would you guess? Now, you've already heard the other positive numbers, so what would you think is a positive number on favorable toward Tea Party?
Percentage of those that are favorable?
Yep.
I think Tim should have to go first.
I would think upper 40s, 48.
Rick?
Man, that's pretty close to what I was going to guess. Yeah, I was thinking 45, 46.
You both did real well. It's 49%. So roughly half of the electorate. Now, in a normal election, is 24, 25, maybe up to 30. So this year's off-year election, where we're looking at senators and representatives and governors, it's nearly half of voters are favorable toward Tea Party. Then the question is, do you support Obamacare or do you strongly oppose Obamacare? And the numbers are really interesting on that one, because when you look at Obamacare, those who support Obamacare in this election, 34%. Those who not just oppose, but they strongly oppose Obamacare, 51%. So that's huge numbers.
This is the president's signature piece of legislation.
That's right.
This is his legacy, his administration. And you just said the data coming from the other side, which typically they skew the data as best they can in their favor, and they're saying 2 out of 3. I mean, only 1 out of 3 Americans like what the president gave them.
Yeah, and that is not good, and that's why they say this election is not good news for us. Now, for us to say, oh, well, we've got it done. No. We cannot do that. You take nothing for granted. This is just good news that is coming from them. They're discouraged about what they're seeing. Of course, they have an unlimited supply of money, it seems, and they are pouring into this in massive measures. But this is really significant stuff. Now this is a question that sounds like them. Income equality. We have income equality, and so we've been hearing them use that phrase now for a couple of years, talking about income equality. The president uses that. Now, the people were asked, who's responsible for income equality? And they had 5 options on income equality. So when asked 5 things on income equality, and by the way, only 12% of potential voters said that income equality is not an issue. So for these voters that they're polling, you have 88% who says income equality is an issue. For those who think it is an issue, 88%, there were 2 bad guys in this. 17% say Obama is to blame for income equality. 17% say that big business is to blame for income equality, and big business is not a friend of conservatives. So you have essentially 34%, or the biggest segment of people who blame income equality is not on conservatives, it's on liberal side, just like the Chamber of Commerce is not at all conservative. They can be every once in a while. The other 2 options were, actually 3 other options. Is Wall Street to blame for income equality? That's the lowest, only 8%. So big business is a problem. Wall Street is not. Then those who say that the government is to blame for income equality is 15%. Well, government, that is, for liberals, is associated with Obama. So you're actually at 32% who say that government in Obama is a problem for inequality and income equality. And the final one is work ethic. And 15% of folks said work ethic is the reason there is income equality. So that's actually a decent answer. But you look at that. This is one of their signature issues over the last couple of years, and they're in serious trouble in that because they're the one who raised the issue, and most voters say, well, they're the ones responsible for income equality. 2 final categories for this coming election in November. Gay marriage. If you were those who oppose, those who support, what do you think the numbers are? Another quiz for you guys.
Man, we've been slipping on this one, so I'm gonna guess we're losing it in that poll. I'm gonna say, how about 55% or 45% for natural traditional marriage?
Yeah, I would think something pretty close based on what we've been seeing inside the church and inside even Republican circles. I would say probably 55 and 45 is pretty close.
And 55 being on the supporting gay marriage.
Yes.
Well, I got bad news for you guys, good news for everybody else. Those who support gay marriage are 36%. Those who oppose gay marriage are 57%.
So the news is right. We are in the minority.
Yeah, wrong.
Oh, no. Okay, so that was an agenda they're promoting that wasn't facts?
That's right.
Oh, okay,
that's right.
My bad.
So those who want gay marriage are only 36% of the electorate voting. Those who do not want gay marriage are at 57%. So, again...
That's encouraging.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We're talking about the opposition's polling numbers.
That's right. Now, here's the final category. You have an opportunity to self-identify. Do you consider yourself to be conservative or liberal? What are the numbers on conservative versus liberal?
Well, I think it's less popular to be a liberal now than it used to be. So I would think we're probably growing. Assuming that everybody is on the list, I would think you're probably close to 65-35 or 60-40 as far as conservative having the advantage.
Let me back off. Those who self-identify as liberal in this election are at 14%.
Wow.
So everything else is going to be moderate or conservative. Now, considering moderate to fair size, what do you think the conservative is?
Well, moderate being a fair size, maybe conservative 45?
It's 51. So almost a margin of 3.5 to 1, right? At 3.5 to 1, liberal less is whipped by conservatives. So it's 14 liberal, 25 moderate, and 51 conservative.
Wow.
So you're looking at 86% who are not liberal. That is not good news for progressives and liberals in this coming election. So that's the good news, is this is a poll from inside their camp trying to get their workers aware of what the races look like for this fall. Now, of course, we're still, at this point, we're still 5 months out, so a lot can change. But this is a summertime polling, and this is what they're seeing, and so that's good news that they are not seeing good numbers on their side.
Man, that good news just may take some time to sink in for me, David, because those numbers are tremendous. And again, it's not just one bill or one state or anything like that. This is national trending we're talking about here. And for those that are always concerned that it's too late, we've already lost the country, hey, they need to look at these numbers and see that we've still got a chance to turn this thing around. The numbers are actually on our side if we'll take advantage of the opportunities we have to participate in this thing. Got to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. More good news right here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. In the case Abingdon versus Shemp, the Supreme Court ruled that the Bible could no longer be an independent textbook in public school curriculum. Would our founding fathers have agreed? Benjamin Rush certainly would have disagreed. Benjamin Rush was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and he was a leading educator of the day. In fact, he was the first founding father to call for free public schools. Benjamin Rush declared, "The great enemy of the salvation of man, in my opinion, never invented a more effective means of extinguishing Christianity from the world than by persuading mankind that it was improper to read the Bible at schools. The Bible should be read in our schools in preference to all other books." In the view of founding father Benjamin Rush, the Bible was the textbook of preference for public schools.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Good News Friday, so we're bringing you some good news from across the country. And, David, you just shared some actually great news with us in the first segment about some of the trending and just positive across the board on where everybody's attitude is. What was that one you said on conservative versus liberal? 51% identify as conservative and only, what was it, 14%?
14% is liberal. That's right. 51 to 14.
Yeah, like I said, that all that stuff you gave, I'm going to have to go back and listen to and let it sink in, because that's a lot of great news, and we'll see the results hopefully in November if, like you said before, we don't sit back and say, oh, it's taken care of, but we say, hey, there's an opportunity here. Let's get out there and work hard to really take advantage of it. So with all these opportunities before us, let's get some more encouragement so we'll get out there and work hard. Tim, what do you have for good news?
Absolutely. Well, speaking of working hard and seeing positive things happen, if you go up to Wisconsin, Governor Scott Walker has done something with their legislation, signed it into law, and related to pregnancy. And they have seen abortions drop 16%. After something that is seemingly insignificant of just offering mothers at abortion clinics, they are now required to offer mothers, before they abort the baby, the opportunity to see an ultrasound. And as mothers are choosing to see this, the significant numbers of mothers that see the ultrasound decide, you know what, I don't want to have an abortion. Well, this is something that was very simple to do. We're This isn't something that logically even your Planned Parenthood people kind of stuff would fight, except the fact they like abortions and we don't want mothers to see it because then they'll keep the baby. But the good news up in Wisconsin is pro-life Governor Scott Walker has said, yeah, let the mothers see that this thing in them actually human. And it's just given the opportunity, and given the opportunity, they've seen abortion decline by 16% just from mothers looking at this ultrasound.
It works, man. It's got, that's got to be the most results-producing pro-life legislation, because once they see that it's life, those decisions, those positive decisions are made.
Absolutely.
And it's not a bias. It's just, hey, do you want? Let us give you some information. You make your own choice. So it is not a bias. It is not a conversion experience to get them converted to pro-life. It just says, let's let you have some medical data here. You make your own choice. And that little bit of medical data is giving them positive choice.
Well, and saying it's not a conversion experience is true, except that conversion often happens as people have their eyes open to truth.
That's true.
And so as they see truth, this is probably a very dramatic conversion for many of them, realizing, wow, what I was told in biology class in high school, what I was told by these people who brought me into the clinic and back here to do this abortion, that it's just a blob of tissue. It's not a person. It's not a human. And their eyes are open to truth, and they realize, wow, this is actually a real life. It's a baby. I would think probably there's a big conversion that happens.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
And David, you said, I'm sorry, buddy, you said medical information. I mean, that medical data, that's exactly right. I mean, in what other area of medicine or health would you make a decision without all the information to make the right decision? And in this case, that's all we're doing is we're saying get all the information, get the facts, look at what's actually happening, and we're getting good decisions as a result of that.
And it makes a big difference.
It does. Huge. We got to take another quick break, guys. We'll be back in a moment with more good news right here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. In several decisions over recent years, the Supreme Court has consistently ruled that it is unconstitutional for the government to encourage religion. Did our founding fathers agree with this? Consider the words of Henry Laurens, a signer of the Constitution and a president of Congress. Henry Laurens declared, "I had the honor of being one who framed that Constitution. In order effectually to accomplish these great ends set forth in the Constitution, it is especially the duty of those who bear rule to promote and encourage respect for God and virtue, and to discourage every degree of vice and immorality." Founding Father Henry Laurens believed that the goals of the Constitution could not be fulfilled apart from a fear and a respect for God, and that it was therefore the duty of government to encourage this among the people.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
We're back on WallBuilders Live. It's Good News Friday. We're flying through some great news. I know we're not going to get to everything today, guys, so we'll have to get some of it next week, but let's see how much more we can get. Who's next with some good news?
I've got some coming out of North Carolina, University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Professor Mike Adams now is professor, and that's good news. Now, he is in the sociology department. He's a criminology professor, but the reason it's good news is the university had denied him a full professorship. Now, why would they do that? Because he converted from atheism to Christianity, and then he started writing articles for Town Hall magazine or Town Hall online, and because he started converting and writing articles for a conservative group, they said, you're not competent to be a professor. So he takes it to court, and in court, they said, no, you can't do that. That is discrimination. That is bias. So he was not only awarded his full professorship, they awarded him back pay for all the years the university would not promote him professorship. This has been going through court for a while. It's now settled. Good news is, and by the way, I was writing a book not long ago, and I went through this thing on where professors are, and it is interesting that in the area of sociology, that is the second most liberal area of university professorships. The first is in psychology. The second most liberal is in sociology. And in looking at the demographics of what you have with professors, by an 8-to-1 margin, you have more liberals than conservatives in university professorships, and by 10-to-1 margin, you have more Democrats than Republicans. So those are fairly significant numbers. And a study was done a few years ago where they asked the professors, if you knew someone was a conservative, would you hire them? And the answer was no, we would not. So you have open admission of bias against conservatives. And this guy was doing great when he was an atheist. But once he became a Christian, all of a sudden, all the positive reviews he got from students, all the awards. As a matter of fact, let me read you all the things that had qualified him for his promotion. And then they said, because in the university level, that they say you have to publish or perish. If you're not getting your articles out there, peer-reviewed articles, the more peer-reviewed articles you have, the more likely you are to actually be smart, is their evaluation, which is a silly evaluation. But nonetheless, that's their standards. So he has numerous teaching awards. He has enthusiastic reviews from students. He has a heavy caseload of student advisees. He has 125 public speaking engagements and 11 published peer-reviewed articles. And that's very high for any professor. But because he converted from atheism to Christianity and wrote for Town Hall, he is not a good professor. But the news is the court said, yeah, you are. You can't discriminate just because you're conservative or Christian.
Well, I know it's Good News Friday, and I hate to focus on something that's negative as we go to break here, but did you say 8-1? 8-1 professors are liberal over conservative.
Yeah, that's right.
And we wonder why our kids are growing up in our churches, going off to college, and coming back, rejecting their faith, rejecting American values. I mean, we got to wake up and stop sending our kids to these universities where they're brainwashing our children. I mean, if 8-1 liberal over conservative professor, it's no wonder. That's their example. That's who they're learning from. So we need to get smart about where we send our money and send our kids and turn this thing around. Back in a moment, we got more good news for you. We've been giving you good news from North Carolina to Wisconsin to policy and polling data across the nation. More good news when we come back right here on WallBuilders Live.
Hey guys, this is Tim Barton with WallBuilders, and I know you hear my dad and Rick talk a lot about our founding fathers, about the original intent of our nation, the constitutional heritage that we have, and really we've seen how far we've slipped away from that. And I know a lot of us, as we hear my dad and Rick talk, think, I wish there was a place that I could go and I could see these documents, that I could read and learn about the founding fathers firsthand, see the things they did. And I want to give you some websites today that can help you accomplish that very thing. If you get online, you can go to places like Library of Congress, and you can look under their Century of Lawmaking or historical documents. You can go to the Avalon Project, to the Founders Constitution, to Google Books, or even the Internet Archives, or you can just go to WallBuilders' website. We have a section for our library, and under that section we have different subgroups for historical documents, historical writings, even a place where you can get helpful links to find out more information about other websites where you can do research for yourself and find the truth for yourself. Friends, this is a time that we need to know who we are and where we came from. WallBuilders.com is a great place to go.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
We're back on WallBuilders Live. It's Good News Friday. We got a few more minutes, fellas. Where do we want to go with our last bit of good news?
We're going to jump over to Louisiana. And in Louisiana, Governor Jindal has signed into law, passed from the Senate 31-5 rather. The Senate decided that abortion facilities could no longer go to high schools to speak about and hand out material explaining human sexuality and family planning. So going in and saying, hey, kids, go for it. Do it. When you get pregnant, come see us. We'll take care of you. It won't slow your life down. And the Senate says, wait a second. We're not going to let you go in and promote family planning, human sexuality to these high school kids. Now, Governor Jindal explained that we're not saying that you can't give out material, but we're not going to give you a prime speaking slot to go and draw a bunch of attention and do. And so really it's just kind of reining in some of the stuff we've talked about, the value of life. And really week after week after week on Good News Friday, we see so many victories in the pro-life circle, so many positive things happening. And one of the reasons is we're able to rein in some of the aggressive agenda from the other side that is encouraging the murder of babies. And so the fact that now in Louisiana, they're saying you can't go into high schools and you can't get up and give these presentations about family planning. And if you get pregnant, come see us and we'll take care of it. This is great news coming out of Louisiana.
You know, they get it. See, the folks in Louisiana figured it out. The other side, for them, it's all about money. It's business. You know, our mutual friend, Carol Everett, the amazing woman that got out of the abortion industry and is one of our best pro-life spokesmen, she she's told us. She said, when we were abortionists, we looked at it as a business. If we could get that girl to come into the clinic once, we knew she was good for 3 or 4 abortions, and 3 or 4 times we would get paid to perform that abortion. So this is great that Louisiana is saying no more marketing your death service to our high schoolers so that you can make money.
Well, here's another one from Louisiana. While we're talking about Bobby Jindal, Bobby Jindal a couple of years ago really opened up educational choice in Louisiana. He went in specifically targeting low-income kids in failing schools and took these low-income kids and said, here, educational choice. You get a chance to get out of these schools. So, and that was particularly, there were so many black children in failing schools. And so here comes the U.S. Justice Department, and they filed suit against this. They went to a federal judge to get an injunction saying that, letting these black kids out of this school, this interferes with desegregation. Whoa. Wait a minute. Letting kids get out of black schools that want a better education interferes with desegregation. Don't you mean segregation? Well, this lawsuit's been going, and finally the Justice Department announced that they're having to drop the lawsuit because they've been unable to produce any documents, any facts to prove their point. They're claiming it, and it turns out all the studies prove exactly the opposite, that it helps integration. It does help desegregation in the right direction, get away from desegregation. So the Justice Department is now dropping it, but they have also said we are going to find ways to use rules to stop this voucher program. So Eric Holden, Justice Department, determined to not let kids good educations, but nonetheless, right now, Bobby Jindal gets another great victory in Louisiana.
Man, he keeps churning them out. He's won in so many different areas there in Louisiana, setting a great example for others across the nation. Thanks for all the good news, guys. If you want more good news, you can visit our website at wallbuilderslive.com. Click on the archives, and all those Friday programs will have more good news. Thanks for listening to WallBuilders Live.
We stand undivided.